Survival in the military is usually temporary. You hold. You endure. And eventually, someone comes to get you. But during the Cold War, there was a unit given a different kind of order. Survive. Not until rescue. Not until victory. Just, survive. In the winter of 1961, a 6-man reconnaissance and observation unit was deployed into a remote Arctic region under joint NATO authorization. Officially, the mission was simple: monitor atmospheric signals and movement routes for 14 days. Unofficially, it was something else entirely. The location was chosen carefully. Hundreds of miles from the nearest settlement. No established airstrip. No permanent radio relay. Temperatures regularly fell below -40 degrees. Each man carried 60 days of rations, cold weather gear, and minimal medical supplies. Enough to survive, but only barely. Before departure, the unit commander received a sealed envelope. Inside was a contingency order he was not allowed to share unless communication was completely lost. He read it once. Then burned it. The first challenge wasn't the cold. It was movement. Snow that looked solid collapsed under weight. Every step cost energy. Every mistake risked injury that could not be treated. The unit established shelter by digging into wind-packed snow and reinforcing it with canvas, spare equipment cases, and rifle stocks used as supports. Fuel was rationed immediately. Fires were used only to melt snow for water, never for warmth. They learned quickly that survival wasn't about comfort. It was about efficiency. Calories were counted. Movements were planned. Watches were rotated so no one stayed still long enough for frostbite to take hold. They stopped thinking in days. They thought in tasks. On day 13, the unit transmitted its scheduled report. No response. On day 14, they tried again. Nothing. By protocol, they continued operations for 72 hours before initiating emergency procedures. The commander followed the rules exactly. But on day 17, a weak transmission came through. Short. Encrypted. It confirmed only one thing. The unit was no longer considered active. No extraction window was provided. No resupply mentioned. Just a final instruction. Continue observation. The commander gathered the men and told them the truth. There would be no rescue timeline. That changed everything. From that moment, survival shifted from mission discipline to long-term strategy. Rations were cut by 30%. Shelter was expanded underground to conserve heat. Metal equipment was repurposed into tools. Parachute cord became structural support. Empty ammo boxes were converted into insulation. Injuries were treated with rest instead of medicine. No one complained. They understood the equation. Waste nothing. Break nothing. Panic never. Weeks turned into months. The sun disappeared for long stretches, leaving only twilight and darkness. The men developed routines to maintain mental stability. One kept a daily equipment log. One tracked weather patterns. One managed food calculations. Roles mattered. They reduced radio checks to once per week to preserve battery life. When equipment failed, they repaired it or replaced it with something simpler. The cold didn't defeat them. Carelessness would have. Around month 4, supplies reached critical levels. The commander made the hardest decision of the mission. They would abandon half their equipment and move. Staying meant slow depletion. Movement offered risk, but also opportunity. They traveled only during favorable conditions. They navigated by stars, terrain shadows, and memory. Every mile was negotiated. No one rushed. Rushing killed. On the edge of physical exhaustion, they detected distant aircraft signals. Not sent for them. But proof that the world still existed. They re-established limited transmission power and sent one final message. Coordinates. Status. Then silence. Weeks later, the sound of engines broke the quiet. An unmarked aircraft. No insignia. No questions were asked. No reports filed. They were transported, debriefed, and released individually. No medals. No records. Just survival. Survival in the military isn't about heroics. It's about discipline under uncertainty. 6 men were ordered to survive without knowing if anyone would ever come. They did. And the world never officially noticed. If you value real military survival stories based on discipline, endurance, and strategy, subscribe. Because some missions are completed simply by staying alive.